Assalamualaikum and hi Dr. Nurul Afiza. Today I would like to present my journal report. Before I start the presentation, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nur Ali Sofia binti Abi. I'm excited to present my research title, The Impact of Performance Appraisal on Job Satisfaction in Primary School in Cheras. The focus on this study to investigate how performance appraisal, a core practice in human resource management, influence the job satisfaction of primary school teacher in Cheras, Malaysia. Now let's move on to the research background. Job satisfaction, particularly in educational setting, is a critical determinant of employee performance, organizational commitment, and retention. When teachers satisfied with their job, it is a result in better teaching quality, improved student outcome, and a more positive work environment. However, various factors influence teacher job satisfaction, such as a leadership style, workload composition, and recognition. In the text of primary school, teacher job satisfaction can also be significantly influenced by how they perceive their performance appraisal. Performance appraisal, when conducted transparently and fairly, can positively impact teacher job satisfaction. And on the other hand, a poorly executed performance appraisal system can lead to dissatisfaction and demotivation. Next is a problem statement. While there has been research that show a connection between performance appraisal and employee satisfaction, there is a notable gap in the literature when it comes to primary school teacher, particularly in Cheras. The problem lies in the lack of in-depth research focusing on how performance appraisal specifically affect job satisfaction in this context. In this study, I will address this gap by examining factors such as feedback, clarity, fairness, and transparency in the performance appraisal process. These factors are critical because teachers who receive ambiguous feedback or feel that the evaluation process is biased often report lower job satisfaction. Therefore, this research aims to better understand how a well-structured performance appraisal system with a clear and unbiased feedback can improve job satisfaction among teachers, which in turn enhance their teaching performance. Next slide is a research objective. The research is centered around two main objectives. Firstly is the objective of the IV, which is to examine the relationship between performance appraisal and job satisfaction among primary school teacher in Cheras. The DV is to explore the relationship between compensation and job satisfaction, as this could be another influencing factor on teacher satisfaction level. These two objectives are central to the study as they will guide the analysis and help understand whether performance appraisal alone or combined with compensation play a significant role in shaping teacher satisfaction. Next, let's take a look at the key findings from the literature review. Job satisfaction is a multifaceted concept. Is it not just about how teacher is paid, but also about the working condition, recognition from peers, and the appreciation from the school administrator. Research has consistently shown that when teachers are satisfied with their job, they tend to have higher job performance, lower turnover rate, and stronger commitment to the organization. In terms of performance appraisal, previous study emphasized the importance of transparency, fairness, and feedback quality. Fair and transparent performance appraisal are linked to a greater job satisfaction as the teacher feel their contribution are acknowledged and evaluated appropriately. Next is a research framework. This research framework shown here illustrates the central relationship investigating how performance appraisal affect job satisfaction. This framework guide our study and serve as the basis for the data analysis. We we hypothesize that the quality of performance appraisal, including the fairness and transparency of the process, directly influence teacher job satisfaction. The framework also highlight other influence factors such as compensation that we examine to see whether they are moderating effect on the relationship between performance appraisal and job satisfaction. Methodology is to investigate the research objective. We use a quantitative research design, focus on primary school teacher interest with total sample size of 340 teachers. Data was collected using a structured questionnaire that contained Likert scale items, allowing us to assess the teacher perception of performance appraisal and their job satisfaction. The data analysis was conducting using SSPS with two main statistical techniques: correlation analysis to determine the relationship between the variables and Cronbach alpha to assess the reliability for scale. This approach enables to draw meaningful insight from the data and accurately test the hypothesis. First, let's talk about the reliability analysis. We measure the internal consistency of the scale using Cronbach alpha. For job satisfaction, the Cronbach alpha value was 0.893, and for the performance appraisal, it was 0.912. These values are well above the acceptable threshold of 0.70, indicating the both scales are highly reliable. This means that our measurement instruments are consistently assessing that they are intended to measure, which is a critical step before conducting any further analysis. Next is the test of normality to assess whether the data were normally distributed. We conducted the Kolmogorov and Shapiro test for normality. These results shown significant value less than 0.05 for both tests, which indicate that the data for job satisfaction is normally distributed. This suggests that we cannot apply parameter test directly and will need to proceed with non-parameter test or perform data transformation to achieve normality before conducting further analysis. Let's move on to the next slide. I hypothesize that there is a significant relationship between performance appraisal and job satisfaction based on the correlation analysis. The hypothesis was accepted. The Pearson correlation coefficient of 0.943 suggests a strong positive relationship between the two variables with a p-value of less than 0.001, which is statistically significant. This means that as a performance appraisal are perceived to be fair and transparent, teacher job satisfaction increase. Next is a descriptive. In our descriptive analysis, we examine the central tendency, variability, and distribution of both variables, job satisfaction and performance appraisal. For job satisfaction, the main score was 3.82 with a standard deviation of 0.94. This response range from 1.60 to 4.60, suggesting a moderate level of the job satisfaction among the teacher. The skewer value of negative 1.388 indicate that the distribution is slightly negatively skewed, mean most teachers tend to report higher satisfaction score. For performance appraisal, the mean score was 3.99 with a standard deviation of 0.96, indicating a relatively high perception of the performance appraisal. The response ranged from 1.67 to 5.00, suggesting varied perception of the appraisal. The skewness value of the negative 1.6 5.8 indicate that most teachers view the appraisal positively, with a centration toward the higher end of the scale. For the lastly is the correlation. Moving on the correlation analysis, this result revealed a strong positive relationship between the job satisfaction and performance appraisal. The Pearson correlation coefficient was 0.946, which indicate a very strong and statistically significant relationship. This suggests that teachers who view their performance appraisal as fair and transparent are more likely to report higher level of the job satisfaction. For the last slide, this study highlights the significant relationship between the performance appraisal and job satisfaction among primary school teachers in Cheras. The findings suggest that fair, transparent, and constructive feedback during performance appraisal positively impact teacher job satisfaction. It is evident that well-structured appraisal system can foster a motivated, centered workforce, which in turn enhance the quality of education. School and education policymakers should prioritize developing clear and equitable appraisal practice to improve teacher satisfaction, reduce turnover, and ultimately contribute to the better educational environment. Further research study could explore additional factors such as career growth and work conditions to provide a more holistic view of the job satisfaction.